This is Real Estate Rookie show number 31. My name is Ashley Kerr, and I am here with my co-host Felipe Mejia, and we are so excited to bring you part 2 of partnerships today.
Absolutely. Super excited. And we have Amy and Chris. Amy is a newbie who, the story is awesome. She literally bought a property, went hard money, gained $100,000 in equity, rented it for way more than she expected. I mean, a total home run on her first deal. And she talks about the ups and downs of using hard money and then a contractor not showing up. I mean, it's a great story.
One of the best things about the show that we're doing today is they talk about how they do this with a partner. A lot of times we hear the story just from one side, and then, there's that silent partner over there. But we have Chris on today who talks about how he's the boots on the ground. He works with the contractors, and then his partner, has the line of credit. They handle the bookkeeping, do all of that. So make sure you guys take a lot of value from this if you are looking to do a partnership or if you're looking to grow and expand your partnership. Lots of great advice.
Amy, Chris, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on. How you guys doing?
Good, thanks.
Doing well. Thanks for having me, man.
Can you guys just give us a little background about each of you, and then we want to jump right into partnerships. So Amy, why don't you go first?
Well, I have only been investing since February of 2020, and my son and I do it together. So far, we have got 3 houses that we are BRRRRing.
Did you say February 2020?
I did, February 2020.
What a great time to start investing in real estate right before COVID hit. Wow. I bet you're like, if this is this hard, no wonder no one does it.
Yeah, exactly.
Chris, what about you, man?
Name is Chris Lawrence. I've been investing for about 3 years in real estate. I recently left my sales job and doing this full time. Married, no kids running around yet. We invest in, Rochester, New York. We flip, do wholesales, rentals, all that sort of stuff. And I'm fangirling a little bit right now to be on the BiggerPockets podcast, as I've, learned so much, from listening before I started, during and now, over the years. So hopefully I can add some value and insights.
How close are you to Ashley?
We are, about hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah. So I've gone to visit Chris before, and I've seen one of his flips in progress. And then he came and saw one of my rehabs too.
Oh, nice. She always complains because I get to meet all the guests because they're all close to the South. And I think finally she got one.
And Amy, I met Amy last weekend too in Seattle.
Yes, because I'm out here in Yakima, Washington. So
you're across the map.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so Amy, let's jump in. And the first question I have for you on your partnership is, what made you decide to do a partnership?
Well, it was basically my son. He came to me and he said, I need to find some write-offs and start investing. And he had listened to a couple of BiggerPockets podcasts. And he's like, Mom, you've got to listen to this. This is kind of amazing and crazy all at the same time. What's possible out there? And so I listened to that podcast. I was at his house. I listened to that podcast on the way home. And I couldn't wait to get home to call him and say, it's done. We're doing this. And from then on, I have hit the road running. And like I said, we're on our 3rd property now.
Before we get into your portfolio and what you chose to invest in and all that, can you give us a little background on yourself? What'd you do prior to, to real estate investing?
I still have a W-2 job, and my son still has a W-2 job also. And I work for a hospital, but I work out of my house. So I do everything remote. And he's an electrical lineman. And I grew up with parents that had rentals, but I didn't see that much, but all I heard was the negativity from my dad. And my dad was one of these that wanted to do everything himself. And so, as we all know, if we try to do it ourselves, we get burned out really bad. And so that's what happened to him. So when I got to the time to where really I could have started investing when I was younger, I heard that negativity, so I didn't look into it. So thankfully, my son was like, let's do this, Mom.
How did you guys structure your partnership? Did you do an LLC? Is it in your personal names? And how did you decide the equity?
So we just decided that we were going to do 50-50. And he's kind of the money person, and I take care of, I'm like the property management person. And we just have it in the individual names. We don't have it in an LLC as of yet. And then we just kind of divide our duties. I know he's my numbers guy. He runs, we'll both look for properties, and then I'll be like, hey, look at this one. And I'll run the numbers too, but he's my numbers man. He's like, get my numbers. He keeps all the receipts, does all the spreadsheets. Whereas I am like more of the boots on the ground. I want to do the renovating. I want to do the decorating. I'm there to check on the contractors. If I have to meet somebody to open the house, that's my job to do. So we have divided, we know what each one of our jobs are.
That's really important in a partnership, because I feel like sometimes people come in and are looking for someone else that does what, like they're looking for a partner who is good with what they do, and like, oh, we're both good at Excel sheets, or we're both good at our numbers, so we're gonna work well together. And I think it's quite the opposite. And I love that you said that, like, he's your number guy, you're boots on the ground, he's the receipts guy, and you can make a house look pretty and able to sell it. Like, I love that, because that's really important to identify your strengths and then feed off of each other. Like, you've accepted you're probably not the best at an Excel sheet, but you're really good at decorating a home or doing a flip. So I kind of want to jump into that a little bit. If you'll tell us about one of your most recent deals that you did with your son, we'd love to hear about it, the nuts and bolts and everything about it.
We bought a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house and decided we were going to turn it into a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom. And we were adding a bedroom and a bathroom downstairs in the basement, which at the time, we didn't know anything we were doing. We didn't know how complicated it actually was going to be to add the bathroom downstairs. But it was great because we had all of these obstacles stop us, but we didn't let them stop us. We found a different plan to get around them. So even though we had issues come up, we kept pushing forward and nothing ever stopped us. So it took us 5 months to pretty much do a full gut renovation on this house.
Wow, 5 months to do a full reno. That's actually quite fast, though. I've seen them go a lot slower. So kind of run us through the numbers. What did you buy it for, and all that information?
So we bought it for $135,000. We put about $30,000 renovation into it. We had it appraised for $103,500 more than we bought it for. So that was really exciting and thrilling to us to see that all of that hard work actually did pay off. And I got renters in it about 3 weeks ago, and we ended up getting a much higher rent than we had expected on it also.
Congratulations. That is so awesome.
Yeah, it's a huge win for our first one. And, it just keeps you pushing forward. And the other thing that it does, since we're talking about partnerships here, is we are actually wanting to find other partnerships to scale our business. So now we can take this win, and I'm going to do a portfolio notebook, and I can take this with me when I go to find partnerships, so I can show that we can do this, that, we have a deal history. And it just gives us more credibility with other people.
You said before that your son is the money guy. So are you guys putting in cash offers, or is he going to the bank and getting financing? How are you purchasing these properties right now?
So he's the money guy. He brings the down payment. We used hard money to get all of these. And so now that we've got the first one completed, we are in the process of doing the refinance, and it'll be in his name for refinancing.
Okay, so you guys are first-time investors, and you got hard money. So
Yes.
listen to that, everyone. Like,
Yes.
don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to go out there and try to get money, because look at no experience and you got hard money.
When I hear the word hard money, I was terrified. It's like,
Yeah.
oh no, it's like, I think of loan sharks, it's
Yeah.
like, no, I can't.
You're
do
loaning
it.
from the mafia.
Yes. But I tell you what, that getting my hard money loan, our hard money loan for these properties has been 1,000 times easier than getting my refinance loan.
It's interesting you say that, Amy, because I feel like a lot of times investors, when they first start, they are like, oh, bank money, that's the only way to do it. But there's so many other avenues to finance deals. And I always tell them that the financing for me is important, but it really depends on what the deal is. So if I'm like doing a flip, then I'm going to go hard money. If I'm doing buy and hold, then I'm going to get bank financing. So like, I'm not going to try to get bank financing to do a flip, because that's going to be really, really difficult. But like, I think you did it exactly the way you're supposed to, which is that you used hard money for a flip that you're doing. I think that's amazing. Good for you. When you and your son went out and looked for the hard money lender, what was the mindset that you had to go find that? Like,
So yeah, my mindset was just like, oh gosh, hard money. Okay. And so my son, of course, he's the one that went to find the hard money. And I don't even know if it took a day to get his credit ran and to get a $500,000 limit on hard money. And he called me all excited, and I'm like, $500,000? What? And not that, we're going to use that much, because you have to have the down payment, but it was exciting.
I think one of the things that I want our listeners to get from here is that the reason your son wasn't scared to do that was because he had his numbers down. He knew what you were purchasing. He knew the after repair value. You guys lowballed what you thought your rent was going to be. So you ran your numbers correctly. And this is the importance of doing that. So you're not scared of hard money, because now you know the outcome, worst case scenario, best case scenario. And I'm assuming he ran his numbers on worst case scenario. And now hard money is not as scary, as it looks sometimes. So, kudos to you guys for that, for sure.
What is some advice you can give to our listeners today about working with a partner, especially family? Because a lot of times that can lead to problems, because it's a lot harder to end a partnership with your family when you don't want to ruin that relationship.
I would say trust is the number one thing in any partnership. He has to trust me. I have to trust him. And we just kind of feed off of each other. But the communication is huge also. So I think between trust and communication, if I don't tell him that, oh gosh, the contractor can't be here for 2 weeks, and then we have an additional 2 weeks in holding costs that he's not figuring into our loans and our holding and everything, then that's going to that's going to decrease what we're going to be making in the end. So that communication is key also in a partnership.
Has there been any obstacles that you guys have had to overcome, like personal issues that have come up during this partnership so far? I mean, any disagreements about anything that you guys have had to work through?
My son and I are pretty much just alike. We're very laid back. And so no, there haven't been any issues between us. We kind of feed off of each other. Like when we were doing the rehab, I'd be like, oh, I want to knock this wall out, and I want to put this in, and I want to put this in. And he's like, Mom, you're not living here. It's going to be our rental. And vice versa. There were things that he would want to do, and I'd be like, well, this isn't our main home, so let's think about that. So we feed off of each other very well.
What about dealing with contractors as a beginner? Like, what about dealing with that? Can you give us some juicy stories on how that worked out?
For one, we did most of the stuff ourselves on this first house. The second and third house, we're having more people do it. However, a good story was we had to cut the window out of the basement wall to have a legal bedroom down there. And so we had the concrete contracting company coming, and that was the day that COVID hit. And so I got there to meet the guy, and I saw the truck pull up, and he would not get out of his truck. And so then my son calls me and said, where are you at? The company wants to know. They said there are guys there. And I said, yes, but he hasn't got out of the truck. So long story short, we walked up to the truck and he said he wasn't getting out because of COVID. They said that they were sorry that they would send another guy out tomorrow. Well, that is when everything got completely shut down and nobody was doing anything. So here, our plumber was ready to go to install the new bathroom, but our concrete construction company had to cut the concrete from the floor in the basement and the window in order to proceed. We're stuck now. What do we do since they're not going to come back? So therefore, we went and we bought a concrete cutting saw and we cut all of that concrete out of the basement and the wall ourselves.
Hold on, pause. Wait. I know those machines. That's a really big blade and a I mean, that's really scary. You guys just went to town on the side of the house. What did your hard money lender think? What did you even tell them?
I hope they probably didn't know.
That is hilarious. I love that story, Amy. I hope it turned out well. I'm sure it did.
It did. It was awesome. And that's why if there's an obstacle, there's always a way to find there's always a way to get around that.
Good for you. I love that. Grind through it, grit through it. And I think that's what differentiates successful real estate investors from those who just, quit. They're like, oh, well, the guy can't cut the hole in it, so I'll just have to wait until, COVID stops and whatever. So they end up, hating the deal. But Amy, let me ask you I'm going to ask you a selfish question here. What was it going to cost you to make that window in the basement?
I think it was like $550 to have the window cut out and the concrete cut in the basement.
In the basement.
And so,
okay.
Felipe, it's interesting you asked that question because that is kind of what we base this on. Okay, it's going to cost $550 for them to cut it out. We bought the concrete cutting saw for $500. We put in the hard work and did this ourselves. However, by doing this, we weren't going to have to hold it for another 3, 4, 5 weeks. Who knows when businesses were going to open back up? And the main thing that people have to remember is you have holding costs when you have hard money or when you have any loan. So you can't just say, okay, I'm going to wait and sit for 5 weeks because you are losing money over those 5 weeks. Therefore, that was an easy decision for us to go down and spend $500 on a concrete cutting saw and put in the hard manual labor and do it ourselves.
Plus, you'll always have that saw. You can use it again, or you could always resell it probably for, at least half of what you bought it for.
Exactly. And memories. We've made memories now.
That would have been a great YouTube video.
I was just going to say that. I made a YouTube how-to.
It would have been because our batteries, you could only do like 1 to 1.5 minutes cutting through that concrete, and then you'd have to go charge the batteries again.
Oh, wow.
So we worked the whole day there doing other stuff while our batteries were charging, and we would run back and forth cutting that out.
Oh, that's
Do you guys have an end goal? Like, do you have a certain amount of properties you want to reach, a certain dollar amount in equity, a certain cash flow you want to reach together?
That's interesting. We were just talking about this yesterday. Yes, our goal is to get both of us out of our W-2 jobs. And he has 2 young children. And so we want to make sure that we are both set up and that his family will be taken care of and set up. As far as a money goal, we haven't set a number, but we are wanting to get into our next purchase, which we're looking for right now. We want to start multifamily, and then our ultimate goal is storage units. That's where we're looking to progress to.
Very good. That's exciting.
What is your next step to reach that goal? So you're looking right now for multifamily. What are some action items you can give our listeners to what they can do to find their next deal, especially working with a partner where you have to take in consideration each one's, preference, ideas, strategies, goals? That's
kind of where we both look and then send what we find to each other. But we are going to, mail letters. I set and I look at the city maps. And if I see something that looks like a multifamily, it looks like a 5-4, you can tell on the maps the ones that are houses and the ones that are bigger multifamily units. So I'll click on those and I will see if I can find the owner's name and address. And if it's an LLC, I'll try and find who owns that and send a letter to them asking if they are, interested in selling. And if not, maybe they would know an acquaintance or another business person that's interested in selling. I try to get my name out there to anybody that I can because everybody knows somebody that owns properties. So if you talk to anybody and everybody, you may come up with somebody that says, oh yes, by the way, I know so-and-so that wants to sell this property. And there you go. That may be your next investment.
Good for you. Good for you.
I'm so happy for you when I met you and then hearing your story about how you did $100,000 on your first deal in equity and just that you took the risk of partnering with your son and you went and got hard money. You didn't take the easy way. You took whatever made this work for you and to get it done. So congratulations. Exactly. And
thank you.
I can't wait to see where you go. So
I know our second deal, the one we're working on right now, is going to be even sweeter than the first one.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Really exciting.
We're going to have to do a follow-up with Amy where she kind of lets us know how that's going.
Yeah.
Well, Amy, that's such an inspiring story. And that can be the norm for everyone, right? I mean, running your numbers, getting a good partner, finding the deal, and then just getting through it and finishing. And on the other side, you're going to have, like Amy, $100,000 in equity and great rent. So Amy, thank you for the story.
Thank you.
We are going to go to Chris now. He introduced himself a little bit earlier, and we're going to hear a little bit about him. Chris, if you'll give us a little bit of background on yourself, what's your portfolio look like, what you do, get it all.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thanks so much. So we currently, I've done, like I said, about investing in 3 years. We have done about 15 to 20 deals at this point. I don't really know how much, but it's pretty much been a combination of wholesales, flip, and rentals. We currently have 6 buy and hold rentals. Just keeping that marketing machine going. And like I said, I do it full time now. So it's keeping the pipeline full with deals. So that's what our situation looks like currently.
So when you started, Chris, did you start right off with a partnership, or did you start on your own and then take on a partner?
So I started on my own, my first, I'd say 4 or 5 deals, I did it on my own. And then quickly realized, okay, I had limited capital. I wanted to do this so I could scale it and leave my sales job. So I, at the time, I think I had only done 1 or 2 deals. I met with my business partner, which is my wife's uncle and his brothers and my wife's dad, and told them kind of what I was doing. And they're like, yeah, we think, it sounds good. You're a trustworthy kid. But you haven't done it yet. So I had no proof of concept that I could do it. And then fast forward after I did, a handful more deals, Andy, who is now my business partner, was like, I think there's something to this. I would love to, partner with you. And he had what I didn't have. He checked all the boxes. He had the liquid capital. He had, the business acumen, profit and loss and different stuff where my weaknesses were his strength and vice versa. My strengths were his weaknesses. I have, proof of concept. I have, know how to work with contractors, networking, working with, just getting deals and then getting it from, point 1 to all the way to the end. So, it worked out well.
Chris, before we get into too much of that, if I remember correctly, you're getting a great interest rate and your own checkbook, correct? As part of this deal.
Yeah. So, we're 50-50 partners. And he has, a Heloc. So it's a home equity line of credit that we can draw from. And, we borrow money anywhere from 4 to 5%. So as Amy mentioned, holding costs can, eat you up over, the more time you hold on to it. And, at 4 or 5%, that's pretty much free money. So we're, super excited to be in that position. And we can, with that interest rate, we're able to buy deals maybe a little closer to, the number that we'd want to, just because we're not paying that much in interest.
Let's talk about the Heloc situation there, Chris, because I love this strategy. And I think it's so underappreciated, underrated, whatever you want to call it. It's not sexy, right? It's not cool. It's not I went and got hard money and I can, it's just, the Heloc just doesn't seem to be as interesting, but I love this strategy. And matter of fact, I have a rental property that's completely paid off for the simple fact that I want to be able to reuse that money for flips and wholesale deals and whatever the case may be. And you kind of become your own banker with a HELOC. So can you kind of dig into it a little more, how you use the HELOC to you guys' advantage?
The HELOC, like I look at it, like it just gives you the most velocity of your money. So like say, your home is worth 100 grand, it's paid off. You can then borrow typically 80% of that. So you'd have $80,000 essentially to deploy at any time. And, once you say you use that 80,000, you start paying interest on that, but you can make monthly payments, until if you're flipping until you sell a property. Like if when we buy a property and sell it, it's usually 4 months. So you pay 4 months of interest on that $80,000, you pay it back, and then you can kind of rinse and repeat. It gives you the most, in my opinion, gives you, great ability to buy a property kind of with cash, and it's very convenient, and, it stays open as long as you keep it open with banks.
And what's cool is you don't have to draw it completely. Like you can draw as much as you want up to the limit and then pay it off as you need. And then some of them are interest only, so that's really good as well. And one of the other things that I like about the home equity line of credit is that you can purchase property at better prices because you are an all cash buyer, right? So let's say that someone has a $100,000 home for sale in the MLS, and you're like, oh, I'm going to go offer 90,000 cash, none of the contingencies, and someone offers 100,000, the full amount, but with like contingencies of the bank and this and appraising and all that. If I was the seller, I would go quickly with the 90 grand cash, quick close, get out of there in 2 weeks. So I think like you even have more leverage using a HELOC. Strategically, of course, you want to use it, running your numbers and things like that. So I think that's an excellent strategy. How do you guys handle using HELOCs, refinancing, paying them back, and that the back end part of the strategy?
Yeah, so far we've only done flips with the HELOC. So after we buy the property with the HELOC and then sell it, we pay back the HELOC with all the interest. And then we currently have a duplex that we bought that we have a combination of the HELOC and then some private money. And we're going to keep that. Just keep paying the monthly payments on that until, for a variety of reasons. There's tenants in there, and we don't necessarily want to refinance until the tenants either move out or, they decide to leave, and then we rehab it, and then we'll do a cash out refi. But yeah, just paying the payments for the flip, and then for the, rental, just pay those monthly payments.
How do you guys decide which one, because the buy and hold units are yours only, correct? How do you decide for a property? Is it going to go to the flip side, or is you going to keep it for yourself for a buy and hold?
I have my own rental properties, but now going forward with this new partnership starting in January, anything we buy is through our partnership. So we bought a duplex that was that we bought with the HELOC, like I mentioned before. And really, like when we get a lead in, like we'll just put it through the funnel. Like, okay, is this a good wholesale? Is this a good rental? Is this a good flip? And then we again, Andy just kind of says, Chris, what do you want to do? I kind of say, hey, this is what I think we should do. He trusts me, and then we, pull the trigger on it and go forward. So that's how we handle that.
I think that's smart because a lot of times people will buy a deal with the wrong goal in mind, which is why it doesn't work out, right? Every property, I think, in real estate has a great goal behind it. This is a great property to flip. This is a great property to buy and hold. And it depends on location. There's a lot of criteria that goes into it, but it's really important to know that and identify what that property is going to be used for. That way you can decide what kind of financing you're going to use, what kind of deal it's going to become, right? So like I wouldn't use a HELOC to buy a buy and hold property, for example, unless I had the goal to refinance it right after. I would probably use my HELOC to do a fix and flip where I can sell it and then pay off the HELOC and then reuse that money again. So every property has a definition goal behind it, and it's your goal as an investor to find that out, and that way you can successfully use the right financing, successfully know what you're going to do with that property. How's it going to affect you guys' partnership goals? So I think that's a great strategy to use. Chris, sorry, I didn't even ask you. Do you have a deal in mind that you want to kind of run through that you've successfully done with one of your partners?
Yeah. So we're currently working on one right now. This is a fix and flip in Greece, New York, right in Rochester. So we bought this. We actually got this lead through networking with a probate attorney he sent one of his clients to us, and we were able to meet, the lady that owned the house. Her sister had passed away, and she lived out of state. So she just wanted to sell kind of quick. And it was a hoarder house. It seems like all the houses I bought in the past few months have been just hoarder houses. So we're kind of used to that at this point. But we're able to come to agreement on price, and something that worked for her and worked for us. We bought it for $55,000. We put about $35,000 in rehab and repairs, and we've owned it for about 30 days. So we're actually going to list it beginning of next week, so end of September. And we're going to list it for $119,900. So we should make right around that $20,000 to $30,000 mark, which we shoot for on our flips as a kind of a mark to aim for.
Do you guys do an LLC, a joint venture? How do you structure that? Do you have an operating agreement?
We have a 50-50 partnership, and we have an operating agreement, which we, drew up with our attorneys. And I think, before we even did any of that, I think Amy alluded to a little bit, right? It's okay. Do we have similar, core values, beliefs, goals? Are we good communicators? Because things pop up, and sometimes things good, sometimes things not so good. And you work through them, and you have an understanding of okay, this is what we do. And I think that's what can really make a partnership great, or kind of go the other way. So far so good.
I want to bring up a story that you had told me before about before you had a partner and days before your wedding, you had put the money for your wedding into a deal, and your contractor didn't show up, and you had to tile your own bathroom. So if something like that happened now, where a contractor quit and you had to finish the job because you needed that money, how would you handle that with your partner? Would you still be the one going out and doing that? Would you and your partner both be there working?
Yeah. So hopefully that never comes up again, because that was a super stressful time. But if that came to it, I would more than likely just go tile it or find a new contractor to do it. Just because, like I said, Andy, his role is really providing the finances, the business acumen, really just giving me a different perspective. So it would, again, it comes back to those clear expectations, and, what are my roles? What are his roles? And I'm sure if I needed to ask him, he would help, but we could get it done and get it to the finish line.
That is really important, defining your roles ahead of time before a situation or scenario comes up like that, because it will be very easy to get into this mindset, well, I'm doing more work than you, or you're not doing as much as me, but we're 50-50. So having those clear defined roles ahead of time and written down. So what goals do you guys have? Do you have a end date? What do you guys want to reach with this business?
Yeah, it's funny. We just had a meeting the other day, and we're we're not as far along as we'd like in terms of, we wanted to flip 12 this year. I think we'll probably be close to the 6, 7, and so it's partly I don't want to put too much on it. Could it be some of COVID or this or that? So it's okay, let's give it another year. Our ultimate goal down the road is I want to be able to do 24 flips in a year. So 2 a month. Making that $25,000, a profit mark to make it work for a partnership, right? Because we talked and okay, if we can't get to that, maybe down the road it doesn't make sense to partner, because I could do one deal on my a month on my own, but it's really just we want to grow this bigger and make it something where we can all benefit from it. So it's really okay, if we can get to that 24, deal mark, we'll continue to keep doing this. And I think even if we get to that 12 deal mark a year, I think we'll continue to keep growing and see where we're at. And again, it's, you never know what, how the partnership will shape out, but it's we always have that constant communication and dialogue of okay, this is what we're doing. And so far so good.
Chris, let me jump in here real quick. What was the biggest learning curve that you would say when starting a partnership with someone?
Yeah, the biggest learning curve I would say is, figuring out, because I work a certain way and my partner is a different type personality. So just figuring out how we work well together, his strengths, my strengths, and vice versa. And, just really having that communication and, great, partnership, because at times, it can be challenging for sure.
What about, you had mentioned, what does what that you and your partner might split up if you can't reach the goals that you want. It might be better to go in separate ways. Can you elaborate a little more on that so that maybe some people realize they don't need a partner, and when does it not make sense to take on a partner?
When we first started, we're like, okay, we want to do this and we want to do 24 flips in a year. And, I had some good success before we started with the partnership, and these deals were off market. And so I'm like, oh, shoot, we can easily do that with marketing and learning this whole machine on how to do that. And it's been a little slower, to be honest. And, I don't know if that's with COVID, like I mentioned, or what the case is, but we're like, okay, if we can get to 24 flips and make our number to where we both can make what we want and make the money and have the lifestyle we want, and we'll continue to do it. If not, maybe we split off and just do some deals together or different stuff like that. So it's really just, I think it really just comes back to that communication piece, and like, okay, here's what I want to do. And, I left my sales job to do this full time. I was making, 6 figures, had all the benefits, and, so you're learning as you go, right? I just am type of ready, fire, aim person. And I'm like, let's give this a go. And worst case scenario, I can go back to a sales job and do, 4 or 5 flips, because I've learned so much that I can make, money on the flips and, stuff that you can't ever take away. So at this point, we're like, let's give it a year and see what we can accomplish. And so far, so good. So I think we'll be in a good spot come a year from now.
I would agree. I think you guys are going to crush it. I think you and Amy are perfect examples of, starting out and then already in the middle of it, but, running your numbers and the importance of other people in your deals and just working well together. And I think this is going to be a good segue for moving on to the second part of our show, where we're going to ask you about an MVP, someone that's been super great in your real estate investing, someone who's, been a positive influence. So Amy, I'm going to start with you. Who has been someone that's an MVP in your investing so far?
I would have to say my mentors and my mastermind groups that I'm in. I have 2 mastermind groups that I'm in and that I follow, and my mentors are awesome. But not only that, in my mentorship, in the mastermind, I learn so much just from the other people that are in there also. So, I would say that just having somebody that you can go to with questions at any time is huge for me.
I agree. I think that's really important. The power of having a community around you that's going to support you when it just hits the fan, because it's going to happen, and you want to be able to ask questions, or you want to be able to reach out to someone that maybe has had that situation happen to them.
Not even just asking questions, but the accountability too.
Exactly.
Having somebody, and that's what's nice about having partners too, is that you can hold each other accountable. Chris, what about you? Who would be your most valuable player that has helped you succeed in your real estate business?
There's been so many people and having a good network of people, but in particular, when I first started, I met one of just a girl I went to school with. Her dad invests in real estate. He'd done it for 20 years and still continues to do it, fix and flips and that sort of stuff. And was actually able to connect with him. And now, when we first started, he was my mentor, but now we're friends. We talk pretty regularly. And, like you said, like things pop up, different stuff. He's like, yeah, that's fine, but you gotta, you can do this and, have different exit strategies. And he just gives you insight and kind of can calm the nerves and anxiety and things that you go through, because investing in real estate, when you first start, there's so much emotional and there's so much of a mental side to it of real estate, like a mindset. And it's just great to connect with someone that can kind of shoot you straight and give you insights into real estate. Because if I was to ask my parents or someone else that doesn't invest, they might not give me the best, advice, so it's super important to have a good mentor.
Chris, when you went and first talked to him, was he annoyed? Was he bothered? Or was he excited and passionate to find someone else to talk to real estate about and happy to help you?
Yeah, he was super excited, because it's like, you're a real estate investor, so you love talking real estate and help you just can help people out. And like for me, like people will reach out to me on Instagram, and I love to help people out. Like if I can give them advice, I will certainly give them advice. And again, I give them my perspective. And yeah, he was super, people love to talk real estate. If you like to invest in real estate, your chances are, if you're genuine and have a great approach, people are going to be open to giving you, insight.
Have you done anything to provide value to him a lot of people say, you know, if you're looking for a mentor, make sure that you're providing something back in return for them helping you.
You know, like if he needed something out of one of his flips or just needed me to do something, you know, like we would, you know, meet up and link up, and he, you know, just certain tasks that he'd ask, you know, I'd try to help him out in any way I could, and not be burdensome, and just, hey, do you need help, or what are you going through? We'd call and connect. And
I think a lot of times it's really important to just make yourself available. If you can allow yourself to be available to the people that you want to get mentorship from or help from, I think that's super, super crucial. And then showing up to meetings is also really important. If you follow me on Instagram, you know this story. Just showing up, that's half the battle. Okay, let's move on.
Let's go to the rookie request line. Is that what you're going to say?
No, Ashley, what if I wanted to take it somewhere else? No, just kidding. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, let's do Amy's first. So the rookie request
What
line.
if I want to do Chris's first?
This is my show.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll step down. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
You guys want to call in to the rookie request line and have me and Felipe fight over who's going to read your voicemail. It is 1-888-5-ROOKIE. So today's question for Amy is...
Hey, it's Amber from Tampa. I'm very, very rookie. I want to learn more, and I'm more of a hands-on learner, so I definitely want to be able to find a mentor or something in my city. And I have looked through BiggerPockets forums. I do have a full-time job. That's Monday through Friday. How do I navigate those hours and be able to still, work on the side? Because my hours, I feel like, are very inconvenient for people that might want to help me or train me or mentor me. Do I need to give up my job and maybe find a different job in the real estate field? Or do you think I can still keep my job? Thank you so much.
Amy, what would be your advice for Amber?
Well, my advice, I would try and find a contractor, and like my mentor always tells me, go to Home Depot open at 6:00 in the morning. Go to Home Depot and look at all of the trucks in the parking lot. There are so many contractors, electricians. You know, you are going to get numbers from there. And just start calling and tell them what you're wanting to do. And like Ashley said, try and bring value. Don't just go and say, well, I want you to show me this. Why do you want to? Tell them what your goal is. Tell them what your why is, and ask them what you can do for them to help get information. And go work for them. Tell them you'll go work on the job with them for free take a couple days of vacation. I mean, whatever you can do, when they see that you're willing to do something for them, then they're more likely to do something for you.
Single ladies, I just want to say that this is also a way to find a partner for free, is by going to Home Depot and finding a contractor who will do your rehabs for you.
Now, Ashley, why do you think I'm at Home Depot every morning?
Amy's not trying to just find a contractor, she's trying to bring home a man. I can't with y'all. Both of y'all. Chris, we're going to go do our own podcast on our own. We're going to go do our own thing. Oh, that's hilarious. I love that. Okay, so let's move on to Chris's rookie request line.
Hello, my name is Connor from New England, more specifically Rhode Island. And we have a very hot market up here right now where properties off the MLS are showing very low returns. Do you think that it would be acceptable for me, or a good option, to go through a wholesaler that's already flowed me some pretty good deals, get a hard money lender involved, and then refinance out for the low interest rates that we're seeing at the time? Or is that something that's a little bit too risky for a newbie like myself? Thank you.
Chris, what do you think?
yeah, I think it really all this comes back to do the numbers make sense for your criteria? Like if it's, for example, if it's a rental and you want to make $200 in cash flow, doing the rehab, paying the wholesaler after buying the property, does it meet your criteria? So I guess it'd have to meet your criteria and your numbers, because you can find a deal anywhere, whether it's your wholesaler or off market. But just make sure the numbers work. And when I first started, someone told me a really important, kind of lesson that's is still stood with me today is don't count the wholesaler's money, whether they make 10, 15, 20 grand. If the numbers work for you, buy the deal and kind of congratulate the wholesaler. Man, that's a great deal. Bring me more, type stuff. So I'd say it has to make the numbers have to make sense for whatever that is, if it's a flip or a rental. So
I would agree. I think as long as you are running your numbers, that's crucial. And like we said earlier in the show, it's really important to run your numbers based on what that deal should and is going to be. Is this going to be a BRRRR? Is this going to be a flip? Is this going to be a wholesale? And run your numbers based on that. And there should be no reason to be scared of getting a hard money lender. Amy, perfect example, $100,000 in equity. Everyone at the table made their money. The lender made their money. Amy made her money. Her partner made her money. Her son. So I think that's the key to real estate. If there's a secret sauce to real estate, it has to be that everyone wins. And if everyone wins, it's a happy transaction all the way around.
Okay, so let's move on to our random questions. We're going to ask 2 questions to each of you today. They can be a little bit real estate related, maybe not. Felipe and I really just picked them randomly as we are going. So I'll start. I got one ready. So Chris and Amy, I'm going to ask you both the same question. Amy, if you want to go first. Let's see. What is one thing you should have in your partnership agreement that isn't the norm? So like for one thing I always recommend is having life insurance policies on your partner. Okay, so is there anything else, even if you don't have it in your agreement now, something that you would do in the future to put into your operating agreement to maybe save some trouble down the road? What would you say?
I was actually going to say life insurance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's
Well,
okay.
Explain to everyone the benefit of doing that.
Even though my partnership is with my son, you never know what's going to happen. And whoever, we're looking to scale now. So when we get partnerships with somebody else, I don't know their family. I don't know their wife. I don't know their children. And if something were to happen to them, I don't want to be the burden and say, okay, well, there's still a business to run. We still have all this other stuff that we have to take care of. So by having life insurance, you can just say, okay, I'm going to, here's the life insurance. I'm going to, basically cash them out. And then I will become 100% owner, 100% vested on those properties. So they don't have to worry about them anymore. So for me, that's one of the biggest things that I would say is having life insurance and just having an agreement.
Yeah, and it's a benefit to you and it's a benefit to your partner's family too, because a lot of times they don't want to have to take on a rental property too.
Right.
So yeah, thank you for sharing and explaining that. Chris, what about you? What's something you think is really important to have in the operating agreement with your partner that may not be the norm?
Obviously you have the boilerplate operating agreement. And I think, we don't have this, but I think if you're it might be helpful, to have what your roles are and state okay, these are the clear expectations and what you want to do, because the way I might think of something might be different how my partner interprets it. So if it's on paper and you guys agree on it, that you could kind of just refer back to that operating agreement as a manual, and that I could see prevent stuff that issues down the road.
Yeah, I really like that. And one thing I like to do too is add almost prices on there. So okay, whoever's acting as the leasing agent, they may get paid this amount. Or if someone's doing the maintenance, this is the hourly pay they're going to get on top of their equity. So for someone who really is concerned about I know it's not going to be 50-50, I don't want to do a partnership, then do it that way. Get out and write a pay scale for those extra jobs and what that person's going to be paid. Then my partner and I, we are 50-50, and we used to do everything 50-50, and now everything's just given out to property management. So that solves that too. You can also outsource as much as possible. But yeah, that's a great advice to write out the job description of those roles.
I want to know from both of you guys, what is one, and I love this question because I think it adds a lot of value to people. What is one piece of technology that you've used to continue growing your business and that's helped you tremendously in what you do with your partners?
Chris, I want to know something about finding deals. What are you using?
Yeah. So finding deals, we're doing, and that's always evolving and we're, shaking out what works and doesn't work. But right now, so we're really focusing in on online marketing. So your SEO, search engine optimization, We're doing pay per click. We actually started doing a radio commercial. So we're doing that for the first 3 months. So for us, it's building that credibility and kind of have that celebrity feel. When you hear me on the radio, then you go to our website. So building all of that out. Because I think a lot of times, like, we were doing text message marketing and people get a lot of deals through that, but people, like, for me, it didn't kind of went against what I believe in. People were kind of angry and sassy and not really like happy to hear from us. And they're like, "You're a real estate investor? Are you even real?" So a lot of that building credibility and building that trust and authority. So when they see us on the website and all of that, they already know what we do, what we're about, our core values, and we're just normal people that genuinely want to help you out.
I actually saw one of your ads on Facebook this morning.
Oh, is that right?
Because it was the same background that you have right now. Yeah, it was good. It looked really nice.
Yeah, thanks.
Amie, what about you? What piece of technology would you say?
Well, we're so new that we're still trying to incorporate our systems down. My first one I got on the MLS, I just saw it that day and knew I had to offer on it. But our second ones, we actually sent letters out to non-occupied owners. And that's how we got our deal on our second one.
And how did you find those non-occupied owners? Did you buy a list?
Yes, we bought a list, but this time we're not. This time I'm going to be hands-on. And like I said earlier, I'm just looking at my plat map for my city, pulling up whatever looks like a multifamily to me, getting that phone number, that name, and either sending a letter, sending a text, doing a cold call. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing now to find our multifamily that we want.
And then, Amie, when you get those properties or you talk to them, I'm assuming then you tell your son, "Hey, this is probably a good one." You guys run the numbers together, and then kind of the ball starts rolling. Is that about right?
Yeah, kind of like if we get a call back, like he was the one that got the call last time. And so he's like, "Hey, look at this." I looked at it. Yeah, I like it. I ran the numbers. He ran the numbers. Yep, it looks good. And so then we make contact with the owner and we started talking back and forth, and then we made the offer. So yeah, we'll do the same thing. I don't know if he'll get the call or I'll get the call. We'll decide that, and then filter them out, run our numbers, and if the numbers look good, then start in the offering process.
Great. Thank you guys so much for sharing that. Can you guys tell us where we can find out some more information about you, where people can reach you, see where all your deals are going on? Amie, you want to go first?
Yeah. Okay. I'm Amie Swayze. I live in Yakima, Washington. And you can find me on Instagram at Amie Swayze.
Okay. And Chris, what about you?
Yeah, very active on social media platforms, namely Instagram. So it's Chris Flips Rock. So CHRIS Flips Rock, ROC. And, I'll give my website in the show notes. You can check out the website and certainly DM me or ask me any questions. Would love to help and add value any way I can.
Your website, Chris, too.
Yeah, website is www.helpinghomesrei.com.
Well, thank you guys very much for being on the show today. We loved hearing about your partnerships, and this is going to air pretty soon here, so I'm sure there will be lots of questions for you guys in the Facebook Rookie group. So if you guys haven't joined yet, make sure you search Real Estate Rookie on Facebook and join the group, and Chris and Amie will be in there to answer more questions you guys have. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Ashley at Wealth from Rentals, and this is my co-host Felipe at Felipe Mejia, REI.